Life unscripted, stories uncharted. Tales from those on the front line. Journeys that will shift the way you view the world. The views and opinions expressed in this podcast are solely those of the individuals involved and do not necessarily reflect the views of any affiliated organizations or government entities.
Hey everybody, welcome to Port and Starboard, episode 3. This is Brandon, your host, and today I have my stepfather, Lance H. Lance, what's up, dude?
Come on, buddy.
Good to see you. We're at my dad's place here. As you can see, all of his fire memorabilia up here. So we're just going to share some stories and touch on some topics of his time in the fire service and in and out of it. So let's get the ball rolling. Dad, let's talk about your upbringing. You did a stint in the Army, where you grew up, and then bringing you into the fire world.
Sure. I was born in Fresno, California, and essentially grew up there until had the best young childhood up until about I'd say by about 7 years old, and then my parents decided to divorce, and so that kind of threw a little bit of a wrench in our lives, and then my mother remarried, and we ended up moving around a lot during my from about 8 till the time I was about 16.
Okay.
We lived about 22 different places.
Whoa.
So all over the country. So but I got to spend my last couple of years of high school there in Fresno, and graduated there, and then had a brief idea that I wanted to play college football, but my body and joints and just my ability maybe wasn't everything that I thought it was. So because I wasn't very happy at home, I decided that I was going to join the Army. So I joined the Army, did a couple of years in Panama on Fort Clayton with the 5th of the 87th Infantry, and then I did a couple of years on Fort Campbell at the 101st Airborne Air Assault. Now I guess it is. And met your mom there.
Yeah.
And ended up getting married there. And but I knew from as a young kid that being a fireman was something that was always kind of in the back of my mind I wanted to do. And that kind of started, well, I could tell you exactly when it started. It was, one of my idols growing up was my Uncle Lonnie. And Uncle Lonnie worked for the California Department of Forestry. Then it's now called Cal Fire. So I remember hearing stories of him out, on these jobs for, in some cases, months at a time, where they're, fighting these wildfires forever. And I remember when I go to his house, in his garage, he had these 3 helmets that were hanging up: a black one, a yellow one, and a red one. And the black one was his firefighter helmet. The yellow one was his engineer helmet, and then his driver. And then his red helmet was whenever he got promoted to captain. and the yellow and red one are hanging over there.
I was just about to say off
yeah.
camera.
Yeah. And then the black one, there's another story behind that one that's not as good, but in any event, so I would just go out and sit in the garage and just be mesmerized by those helmets. But when I was about 5, I guess we went to go visit him, and they lived in Visalia, California, but he worked at a station in Tulare, California. And I think at that time he was on engine 8 and there was engine 208 there. It's crazy that I remember that, but I remember it was late at night and, or later in the evening, it was dark. And I remember he put me and my cousins, up in, I think it was engine 8, and I got to sit up front, and he put the lights on and the sirens, and we drove around this huge compound, that he worked on. And I was hooked.
Sold, right?
I was like, man, I love this. And then from then on, it was always something in the back of my mind I wanted to do. Yeah. So growing up, it was football always was part of my life growing up, and then for a while, my grandfather was all into airplanes, so I was fighter jets. So I had this notion that I might want to be a fighter pilot. And first of all, I didn't have the grades to support that. And second, I remember we went to this air show one time, and it was an F-16, and I walked up the little ramp to go up and talk to the pilot, right, and look inside. And I told him what I wanted to do, and he's like, dude, you ain't gonna fit in this thing. And I was like, he's like, maybe an A-10 or one of the big heavy jets, but you ain't flying this thing. And I'm like, well, maybe I need to rethink that.
Maybe fly a C-130 or something.
Yeah, exactly.
Right?
Exactly. But that really wasn't, it was more of one of those adrenaline things, or one of those, that'd be really cool things, versus it being something I was really driven to do. And then, once I got in the Army, and I appreciate my time in the Army more now than I did when I was there. Mm-hmm. And I think the fact that I spent the couple of years in Panama in a very different environment, overseas environment, is different than a stateside environment. Yeah. So going from that to Fort Campbell was just culture shock.
Huge culture shock.
A huge culture shock. So I got there and I'm like, I don't like this at all.
Yeah.
And I couldn't see myself making a career out of it. And, but always in the back of my mind, I wanted to be a fireman. So I remember going to the you have to go to meet with your re-enlistment officer, right?
Oh yeah.
Every time before you get out, so they can try and talk you into staying.
Mm-hmm.
And so I go in this guy's office, and I can't remember his name, but I can still see his face. And I told him, I said, look, I'm getting out. I'm going to be a fireman. And he said, well, I'll see you back here in a couple of years. And I was like, that was all the motivation I needed.
That's pretty arrogant.
Yeah. That was all the motivation I needed. I was like, well, no, you won't, friend.
No, you won't. Yeah.
So so we got out, and I got out of the Army, and I didn't know how, at that time, it's not that way right now, but at that time, it was super hard to get on any fire department. Everybody wanted to do it for whatever reason. I think there was just a different mentality at that point. People just were more inclined to serve in those types of capacities.
Now this is like early 90s, right?
Yeah, this is I got out in 93.
Yeah.
December of 93. So this is really 94.
And when did you meet Mom?
92.
And where did you meet Mom? That's the better question.
I met Mom at through a friend, and through one of her friends knew one of my friends, and we met at a karaoke bar.
Yeah.
Yeah. And
who is the DJ?
Cricket.
Cricket. What's up, Cricket?
That'd be funny if he's listening.
Yeah, I'll send it to him.
But he yeah, we kind of met there, and I still remember our first date.
Yeah.
Well, our first date together, the three of us.
Mm. The
The
introduction.
yeah,
Yeah.
it was the first time that I got to, really spend any time with you, and it was at the fair. It was at the fair. Man, we had a blast that afternoon. It was a lot of fun, and you won that frog.
Harry Ballsack.
Yeah, I was like, what are you gonna name him? You're like, Harry Ballsack. I was like, I love this kid already.
Was I like 6?
Yeah, you're like 6. So yeah, that's where I met Mom, and she obviously super supportive of me wanting to pursue that fire career, and which wasn't, like I said, wasn't as simple as what I thought it might have been. So I had put in applications, and I ended up testing for fire departments all in the area. I tested at Hopkinsville, tested at Nashville, tested at Hendersonville, I think. And there was probably a couple of others in there, because you had to go and do like a physical test, and then, but you had to do that to even get to the point where you could do an interview. Right. So, and then they put you on a list, and they would hire off that list, but people really weren't leaving. And so it was, so I started. So whenever I got out and I started working for a bottled water company,
Crystal Springs.
Yeah. And I knew that's not what I wanted to do forever, but it was a decent job. And I tell you what, I can't remember the last names, but they were both Michael and Mike. Mike Shoemaker was the guy in charge, and Michael was kind of my boss. And shout out to those guys, because the day I got hired, I told them, I said, listen, I said, this is not what I want to do forever. I said, I want to be a fireman. I said, I just need a commitment from you that if the opportunity comes up for me to go test, interview, whatever, that you guys are, going to be okay with it. And they were like, yes. And then when the time came for them to make good on that promise, they did. Good. They were like, take all the time you need, go do it. And so I decided at that point, I was really going to put my focus on working in Clarksville. So I went, and I would sit in the chief's office. I'd go visit him, every couple of months, and just sit down and, hey, look, dude, I want to get a job here.
Wow.
And the message he kept telling me was, look, the only way you're going to get in here is if you get hired someplace else in the city and transfer in when a job opening comes up. And so I went home and told your mom what he had said, and she's like, that's not right. She said, and she's like, we need to find someone to talk to about this. And so there was a guy in Clarksville. His name was Mark Holloman. He was on the city council and also on the public safety committee at the time. So a job opportunity came open with the fire department. Mm-hmm. And so I went and I got my application to fill out, and she had to go pick it up at Job Services. And I brought it home, and I filled it all out. And your mom came up with this idea. She's like, let's copy it, put these big orange labels on it, and let's go give it to everybody that'll listen.
Grassroots hiring.
Yeah. Man. So I went back to Mark Holloman. Yeah. At first I had talked to him prior, and I was like, look, I don't get why this is the process. Here I am, a citizen of the community, and I want to do this so bad.
Right.
And I'm basically being told that I've got to take a different route through, because that they're favored if you're already working for the city. Mm-hmm. And he didn't agree with it either, apparently, because, I'm pretty sure I remember him telling me he went and spoke with the chief about it.
How old were you at this time?
23.
Whoa.
Yeah, 23.
Okay.
So pretty young.
Making big moves at that age.
Yeah. Oh yeah. Yeah. And then, so I got a call back. And they told me to come fill out the big application. And the weird thing is, and I remember us at that time, we were just looking for every way we could find for this to work out for me. And I remember that we decided one night, it's like, we need to pray. And I was like, and your mom came, your mom again, she came with this idea, let's get the Bible, let's just flip it open and let's bam on a verse, right?
Yeah.
So we flip it open, bam, Matthew 18:19. And it said, if two or more of you come together in my name, it's going to be given you.
Yeah.
And we were like, I still get chills, just the fact that that's where we landed.
Yeah. Jesus spoke that.
Yeah. Exactly. They were written in red.
Yep.
Yeah. And so we prayed right then and there. And at the time, I had your mom was working for another company, and as a vendor, and she, there was a job opening with Coke as a store to store vendor, right? Driving a truck, dropping product off. Pretty good job at the time. It would have made pretty good money.
Like you're stocking and
all that.
Yeah.
All that. And so, I had applied for that job just because it was going to be making more money than I was making where I was at Crystal Springs. And so while this is going on with the fire department, that application is sitting there, and I'm like, and your mom had talked to them. I knew that they were going to call me.
Yeah.
Because I knew all those guys over there. And I need to come back to that after we get to this, after we get past this next part, because it's kind of cool. It all ties back to that, to faith, right?
Right. Yeah.
So, I fill out the big application, and we do the same thing. We fill it out. We put the big orange label on the top, and I take it to everybody. And I got called to do the physical test. So, I go to do the physical test, and which is just, you go through a battery of different little tests just to test strength and agility and things like that. And the chief was out there. And at the time, for whatever reason, I had the same flat top that I have now, but I had a mullet. So it was longer in the back, right? And so it was the times.
Business in the front, party in the back.
That's right. So Billy Ray Cyrus had it going on too.
Yep.
At the time.
He's got a lot going on now.
He sure does. He sure does. And so I was out there, and the chief pulled me aside. He's like, in front of everybody, he called me out. He said, if you get hired on this department, you're going to have to cut that hair off. And I was like, are you serious? And he's like, yeah. Because at the time, I was under the assumption that was kind of a firefighter haircut, right? It's just stupid.
Yeah. But makes sense.
I was under the assumption at the time that was kind of a firefighter haircut. It really wasn't, but I don't know where I had gotten that or where I had seen that. But I was like, are you serious? And he's like, yeah. So I get home that night, and after the physical test, did really well on it. Get back home, and I called your mom. I'm not sure where she was, but I called her up, and I said, you're not going to believe what he told me. He's like, I'm going to have to cut my hair off. And she's like, you need to go cut your hair. Because the next day I had a panel interview.
Oh my gosh.
So, and I was like, well, where the heck am I to get my hair cut? It's like 5:00. She's like, Supercuts is open in the mall. So
is that Governor Square Mall?
Yeah. Yeah. So I jump in the truck, run over to Governor Square, and sure enough, Supercuts is open. And we had one guy that was cutting our hair back then. Teddy.
Yeah.
And I didn't let anybody else touch it. So I went to, I went over there and I said, listen, just trim up the back. Don't touch the top. And they did a great job. So, so the next morning I go in for my panel interview. It was like 9, 10 o'clock in the morning. And I walk in and I sit down and the chief is sitting at the front desk where the secretary would normally sit. And everybody else is in his office doing the panel interview.
Mm.
So we sit down and this dude starts talking to me like he's known me for 100 years. I'm like, all this, it's like weird that he just all of a sudden started taking a liking to me and I couldn't figure out what the heck it was.
Yeah.
So my time in the chute comes open and the door opens up and it's time for me to go in for my panel interview. He walks me in. He walks me in and he puts his arm around me and he's like, I want y'all to look at this man's hair.
Whoa.
He's like, I told him yesterday to cut his hair. Damned if he didn't go out last night and cut his hair. and I was like, I'm in.
Yeah.
Like, I think I have this in the bag.
Golden.
And so I did my panel interview with that, went really well. And then the next day I had a follow-up interview with just the chief, went really good. And on my way out, the secretary at the time, and this was like August, I think.
Mm.
The secretary at the time of 95, the secretary at the time kind of whispered, she's like, he's going to bring you on. Like, he's going to hire you. And I said, one of the first 3? She's like, yeah. So there was only 3 positions open at the time. Wow. And so I was super excited, right? But going back to the Coke thing real quick, I ran into the Coke guys after all this had happened. And I was like, what went down? I'm surprised you guys didn't give me a call. And he's like, you know what? We knew you applied for that job, but we just didn't think it was good enough. So we were waiting for a better one to come open.
What?
And it was like, why would, and I had to be just God telling him like, look, dude, don't hire that guy right now.
Yeah.
I'll let him go through this process because they wouldn't have done for me what Crystal Springs did for me.
Right. Right.
So,
wow.
So I went back and I talked to Mike Shoemaker, and I said, I got the job. I said, they haven't offered to me yet, but it's coming. He's like, oh, I know. I already hired somebody else.
Nuh-uh.
Yeah.
What?
He's like, I knew you were going to get it. So I've already hired someone else for your position.
All this is working in the background.
All this is happening in the background.
Yeah.
All while this is going down. And
dude.
So yeah, that all of that had to transpire to get where I wanted to get. And yeah. So my first day on the job, September 1st, 1995. So I go in and they give me my uniform and they give me my turnout gear, which was at the time was black. And we switched to the tan gear probably, I don't know, it must have been probably 5 years later. It didn't fit me. It was way too big. My boots were too small. But put them on anyway and went to work and I had moleskin all over my feet those first couple of weeks until they were able to get me some more boots in. But yeah, started on that day and we were on the truck that night. Yeah, there was all OJT. There was no training program at the time. You'd come in on your shift and the training officer would take you and you'd be in training all day. But if a call came in, you were going.
Trial by fire,
which
literally.
Is great. Yes, which is great. And so the first shift was pretty uneventful. But I do know like the first. So I got hired with a guy named Clint Halstead, who ended up being one of my best friends, still is one of my best friends ever. And we were on the same shift And so sometimes we were together, sometimes we were on one of the different trucks. But we had this agreement, right? So we were at that time, there were 4 of us on an engine downtown whenever we had the staffing to do that. And on this particular day, we did. And so me and Clint were in the back, and we had this agreement that someone had to get off and catch the hydrant, and the other person was going to be able to go in and do the initial interior tack. No one wants to catch the hydrant.
Yeah.
That's not a fun job, because you gotta pull the line off, get it connected, and then once the driver gives you the okay, turn on the water, and then you can go up and start fighting fire. So you're delayed getting there. So we had this agreement, like whoever side the hydrant is on, that's who's catching it.
That's
so
fair.
it was fair, completely fair. And sure enough, we get called to a fire in Station 4's territory on, can't remember the name of those, it was one of those, not Lincoln Homes, but the other one that was down at one of the housing unit places, low income housing. And they were brick buildings with a wooden roof, but man, they would hold the heat in. They got so hot in those places. But in any event,
like a brick oven.
So we pull up and I get off, catch the hydrant like I'm supposed to, because it's on my side. So Clint was the big winner on our first fire. He went in and did the initial attack with I don't remember who the officer was with us that day, but I think it was Harold McCarver, who's no longer with us, but legendary firefighter, legendary, one of the best I've ever known. And but they got to go up there and fight the fire. I came in afterwards and did a lot of the overhaul stuff. The fire was pretty much out at that point. It was only 1 or 2 rooms, but that was the first fire. But in our first 6 months, we made tons of fires. So I'm really thankful that it worked out like that, because I learned so much so fast about the firefighting end of the business. My goal when I first started was to get to rescue. Rescue was, you had to be on for 2 years before you could apply to move on to rescue. And then 3 years after that to become an officer. So you had to have 3 years. So my goal, my plan was 5 years, I'm going to start testing for an officer position if I feel like I'm ready.
Mm-hmm.
So, in that first 6 months, we also had our first fire with a fatality. Actually, it's actually 3 of them.
Oh.
And, so I was, it was a Station 4's territory again. And it's on Monroe Street. And I remember, early in the morning, it was like 6 o'clock in the morning. And, which is always a bad time to get a fire call, 4 or 5, 6 o'clock in the morning, people are probably sleeping and
groggy.
Yeah. Don't have if they have smoke detectors or not. I mean, that's a huge, if you've got smoke detectors, you got a chance. If you don't, probably not. But, cause fires, especially now, can grow so quickly. You just don't have a chance of getting out if you don't get that notice ahead of time. But in any event, we pull up, and me and Clint are both on 2 different trucks, but we're both going to the same fire, right? Arrive at the same time, and to back up Station 4. And we knew at that point there were people trapped. And I remember I got off the truck and I'm trying to put my mask on, and I can see John Sensing and Kevin Hatfield, the 2 guys at Station 4, coming out with the first victim, who was a lady they found. They tried to get out, and they found her right at the point of the hallway in the living room. The fire was in the living room. So, but it was like that Saving Private Ryan moment, like where you couldn't hear a thing.
Yeah.
And it got like you can see everything going on around you, but it's like, this is like there's a ring in your ears and you're just like, and you're extra sensitive to everything. You can see everything that's going on. And I can see him bringing this lady out and it's so surreal.
Right. It's the first time you've seen something.
Yeah. Well,
like
first time I had seen, anyone die in a fire.
Right.
So or at least what appeared to be dead in a fire, which, ended up being she was. But, so me and Clint ended up going in next. We were the next two people in the door, and they said that it felt like there was other people back there. So we went in and turned the corner, small house, wasn't very big. And I remember being behind Clint, and we got all the way to this back room, and man, he, bam, jumps to his feet. He's like, I got one. And then I was like, and so I reached down and I felt an arm, but I thought it was his leg, because this guy ended up being like 350, 400 pound guy, big dude. And he was laying in the doorway, on the floor in the doorway. And so I looked at Clint. I said, I got to go get help. I couldn't see him. I couldn't physically see Clint.
Right.
But I told him, I said, I've got to go get help because the smoke was so thick. The fire was out, but the smoke line was still way down.
Mm.
So I got to go get help. So I ran outside and I said, we need some help back here. We got a bigger dude back here. And so we all grabbed there were 5 of us, and we all grabbed whatever appendage we could and got this guy out of there. And he was still breathing.
What?
Yeah. Believe it or not, he was still breathing when we got out. And so we tried our best to resuscitate him. It didn't work out, but
too much smoke inhalation.
Yeah. He was, it's in the heat of the smoke is the worst. But I'm sitting back there and we go back in, and I can see, a woman laying on the bed. And then they had a bunch of Boston Terriers.
Oh my
that all
gosh.
passed away in the fire. Yeah. None of them lived. Yeah. So that was my first experience with my first fire fatality. And there are certain things like that you see. And I think in the fire business or any business where whether you're in the military, whether you're in EMS or doctors, probably, you see things that you see humanity in situations where, you're never meant to see it.
Right.
It's not something that human beings are supposed to see or should be used to seeing.
Right.
So there's certain things that kind of, there are certain things that you see that kind of stick in your head. But, and so I categorize those types of things as being like in 3 ways. And this is Lance Harbor's opinion, but there's things that you see don't bother you at all.
Right.
And the blood and guts, it never really bothered me. And then there are the things that you see that maybe stick in your head for 2 or 3 weeks.
Right.
And then they just that visual goes away.
Yep.
This is, and then there's things that stick with you longer. But what that did for me, the fatality fire, what that did for me is it affirmed for me that what we do is dangerous as hell.
Right.
And it will kill you if you don't have on your equipment.
Nobody's invincible.
Right.
Right.
And, so I had been in fires where we had a training fire early on. Me and Clint had this training fire early on, and they kept lighting it up. We go in to put it out, light it up. And it was in an actual house, which we could do back then. Environmental rules, make it really hard now to be able to do training fires in a house like that. But then you could just, if someone gave you a house to burn, you could just go do it. But they would just light up a room and you go in and put it out. Just keep practicing. And it's great experience.
Yeah.
But I remember me and Clint were together again, and I was on the nozzle, and the nozzle that we were training with was different than the nozzle that we normally used on the truck. So, or the nozzle that we were training with that particular day was on an older truck that was more of a spare. So the nozzles were just older, but there was a way that you could turn the nozzle all the way to to a point where it would click and the water wouldn't come out. But I didn't know this.
Huh.
So it's all the way clicked over, right?
Right.
I don't know. So and it's my bad for not testing the nozzle before I went in the room.
Yeah.
Right. So I am absolutely to blame for what is getting ready to happen to us.
Right. But you didn't know.
I didn't know. So we go down this hallway, and man, this fire is just aping in this back room. And they tell you don't spray smoke. You wait till you get and you spray the fire, right?
Yep.
So we're going down this hallway, and it's hot, and it's just beating us up. I get all the way back to where this fire is, and I'm like, no water,
nothing.
I mean, the hose is hard as a rock, I know I got water there, but the thing isn't working. So I'm sitting here trying to figure out what's going on, and all the time this fire is like coming down on Clint and I. I mean, it's just eating us up. Roasting is exactly what was happening. And then the Buff Albright, who was a training officer at the time, he came in and he's like, "You stupid fuckers." He grabbed the nozzle and he popped it to where it would work and handed it back to me. He's like, "Put the fire out."
Oh my gosh.
So I don't know where he came from, but luckily he was in there.
Yeah.
But so we came away from that, and both of us had radiation burns on our cheeks through our masks.
Oh my gosh.
Because it had gotten so hot. But what it did is that gave me unbelievable confidence.
Yes.
In my gear.
Yes.
So I knew that I was in a situation, I was actually in the fire, essentially.
Yeah.
And the worst I came away with was a sunburn on my face.
That's insane.
Yeah.
So for those of you who don't know, I was a nozzleman on the Coast Guard cutter Shackle over 20 years ago, or about 20 years ago.
Yeah.
The hose is heavy.
Yeah.
When we trained with red lights and smoke. It was not a very big space on a boat.
Of course not. Yeah.
So visual is not there
right.
a lot of the time. And I don't think they had the technology back then that they do now with the IR or whatever they use.
No, we just use real fire.
Jeez. So let's talk about, you touched on your first fatalities with a fire. Did you have any close calls on a call on a fire where you and Clint or you or whoever else were, out?
Yeah, I think the first one that comes to mind, it was probably just after lunchtime, somewhere in there on this particular day, and I don't remember what day it was, but I was on the rescue truck at this time, so I'd been there. I got promoted to rescue after a couple of years, after I had been there 2 years, just like I had hoped I would. That was my first goal. I want to be on rescue because they go to everything.
Yeah.
So we're on the rescue truck, me and Steve Batten at this time, and I'm still on B shift. And we're going to the grocery store because we got to buy dinner. And so we're heading down. Is it trying to remember that street that you turn down to get to College Street to go down to Kroger? But no, it's Madison Street to go to Kroger.
Oh, Madison Street.
Yeah. So, but there, I was like, let's take that road over there. It's kind of a back road. So Steve's like, and I think Steve was driving. And I was like, let's take that road over there. We haven't been that way in a while. I just want to, get familiar with the streets. And so we turned and we're going down this road, and and out of the corner of my eye, we're driving down, and there's all these houses that are like 2-story old wooden houses. And out of the corner of my eye, I see like this flicker of fire in this upstairs room. And I was like, and I looked at Steve, and about that same time, Steve looked at me and he's like, "Did you see that?" And I was like, "Yeah." I said, "I think that place is on fire."
What?
Yeah. So I stopped. We stopped and we backed up and we went back, and sure enough, this house is on fire.
Right place, right time.
Oh, crazy. And as what made it worse, honestly, was as we backed up, there was this young girl, probably teenage girl, that opened the front door and came out of the house, and she left that front door open to kind of let a lot of air in, right?
Oh yeah.
So, so we called back and let dispatch know that we were on the scene of a fire. We're in the rescue truck. We don't have no water.
Oh my God.
So we start packing up because we definitely want to be the first ones in when the water gets there.
Yeah.
So it just so happened that engine 10, which was from all the way on the other side of the city, happened to be at the gas pumps, which was probably less than a mile from
Like
where we
why?
were. They were just coming up there getting fuel.
So Clarksville's really big though,
Yeah.
right? Like,
But at that time, they only had one fuel pump for the entire city, and it was downtown.
wow.
So those guys had to drive probably, I don't know how many miles to get to town.
Long way.
Yeah. And come out of their territory, come to town, get gas, and then go all the way back. So yeah, kind of silly, but I mean, that's just the way they did it back then.
Yeah.
But anyway, they were at the right place, right time. So they're like, "Hey, we're going to take this fire in." And because they weren't too busy out there where they were at that point. It's gotten way busier now, but so they pull up and we grab a line and we come up, me and Steve grab a line off the truck and we start heading in the door. So as we get in the door, I look up and I could see the fire was on upstairs room on this side of the house obviously towards the front. And so we get in and you can imagine what it must look like. There's this staircase that kind of wraps around and goes up to what appears to be a landing. So you have to assume that all of the rooms are off of that landing going that direction.
Sure.
So which has ended up being what it was, but you couldn't see any of that because the smoke line had got down to the point where you could see that the staircase wrapped around. That's kind of it, because you were just walking into a black. So we started advancing up this staircase, and we get around to where we're on this landing. And so I'm being real careful because, it'd be really easy at this point to go off that landing. You push the wrong way but we can't find the fire. I can't see it. All I know is I am freaking cooking. So I'm feeling all along this wall, and I can't find a doorknob. I can't find anything. And I'm like, what the hell? And about this time, Steve's like, I gotta go. And his air pack malfunctioned.
Oh no.
And his mask, like you can imagine, if it stops working, your mask collapses on your face.
Yeah.
So he had whatever air he sucked in that last breath to get him out, down that stairwell.
Whoa.
So he was gone. And so, I knew that there were some other people behind us coming up. So I'm sure that they were coming up. So I'm like up there, and there's that little antenna on the back of your neck that tells you you're in a situation that you can't be in too much longer, or you're going to be screwed.
Yeah.
And that antenna was going up because I was getting, normally whenever going back to my gear being tested, I was as hot at this point as I was when that fire was on me in that training fire. So I knew that it was not good, and that this whatever smoke I was in was going to light up before long. I had water with me, obviously, that would have protected me, but in any event, it was getting way hotter than, and to just not be able to find the fire was just so strange. So just about the time that I felt like I needed to go. And all this is happening in just a short amount of time, right? Just a few, not even just a minute or two.
A few moments.
Yeah. Right. So all of a sudden I reach out and I happened to finally hit this door. I didn't find the knob or nothing. I hit the door and the door just collapses because it was burning from the other side. It just collapsed. And all of a sudden that fire is like, wow, comes out of there. And so I turned around and about that time, I think Harold McCarver was the lieutenant at Station 10 at the time. So he came in right behind me. So I knew I was in good hands.
Yeah.
And we, at least with, someone I could count on, we went in there and knocked the fire out pretty fast. But that was one time that I kind of felt like I was in bad shape. Yeah. One other time that I don't know if it was that close of a call, but I had an air pack malfunction on my own. But at the time we had these MSA packs that had like an elephant trunk. They were, instead of it being a high pressure system, they were a low pressure system. Mm-hmm. So they had these big tubes that would plug into a regulator on your belt, essentially.
Yeah.
And I had gone in early. I had gone in about 4:00 in the morning to relieve Stu Telfer.
Yeah, Stu.
So I had gone in about 4:00 in the morning to relieve Stu Telfer, who was on C shift and work until 8 because he had some kind of family thing he was doing, and I think I owed him some time. So I go in and we catch a fire over on Station 3's territory, and so we, for some reason I can't explain it, we beat Station 3 into this house that was on fire in their territory. I can't remember exactly why. I have some suspicions, but I can't remember exactly why. But in any event, me and Jimmy Cheatham we're on this line, and we're advancing back down this long hallway to try and find this fire. And we're deep in the smoke, and all of a sudden I hear, shh. I was like, somebody's shit's broken.
Yeah.
And then all of a sudden I took a breath and I was like, oh shit, it's me. And so somehow the bottom of this tube had come off of the regulator and was just kind of hanging there.
Oh no.
But I remembered in our training, they told us if you take that, one of the benefits of having that tube is you can take that hose and stuff it in your coat. And because you're low enough, you'll have enough fresh air to get yourself out.
Okay.
And sure enough, my training kicked in. I was like, stuffed it in my coat. And I told Jimmy, I was like, I got to go, buddy. I said, this thing's broken.
Wow.
And got outside, and I was not happy.
So I remember some stories that you told me, any like non-fire emergencies. So that's like traffic accidents, or anything like that really shook you. I think there was a motorcycle story you told me, but I don't know if you were working for the fire department at the time in Tennessee anyway.
I'd have to think about the motorcycle story. I'm not
But
sure.
like any car accidents or scenes you're called to where somebody's out of their mind, and police are there, and it's like a joint, something the fire department's called for, but not for a fire.
Well, I can tell you the story that or a story of the non-fire call that was probably the most difficult for me to overcome.
Oh,
right. So I spent 2 years on the rescue truck, and then 3 years on the rescue truck, and then at my 5th year, I was able to test for lieutenant, and ended up coming in first and got promoted to lieutenant. And and the funny thing, going back to part of my childhood, sorry, I'm regressing back a little bit.
It's fine.
But there was a show on TV at that time called Emergency.
Yeah.
And of course, wanting to be my uncle, I knew I wanted to be a fireman. And so watching this show was just like, whenever it came on, it was just the best show on TV. But there was a guy on there, Captain Stanley. He was the officer on Engine 51. And I just wanted to be Captain Stanley.
Nice.
I wanted to be that guy that showed up and was directing his troops but could just solve these problems.
Mm.
You know, whatever the problem was, you know, plane crashes into a building and Captain Stanley figures it out.
Right.
I wanted to be that guy. So I get promoted, right? I'm realizing my dream. I'm finally Captain Stanley, right?
Mm-hmm.
And then I realize, oh crap. I'm in charge of these people now, you know? What I realized, I mean, I got this pit in my stomach. I'm not kidding you. I got this pit in my stomach right after they told me I was number one. I'm like, the gravity of it like hit me. And so I was like, why am I so upset over this? And I realized that I had learned in the last 5 years how to do everything,
Mm.
you know, every tactic in the book.
Right.
But I hadn't learned why I did them or why I would do them in different situations or a process of determining what to do when you get on the scene. So luckily I got stationed at Station 2 for my first 6 months as being a lieutenant. And so it gave me time to really like start thinking about what I wanted to do. And I'm kind of a simple guy.
Mm-hmm.
So I wanted a simple process. And so I found this book written by Harry Carter, who's kind of a legend in the fire service, legendary author in the fire service. And it's called the 8-Step Size Up Process. And I was like, that's my kind of book. It was thin,
Mm-hmm.
wasn't real big, little paperback. Like, okay, I can do this. So I ordered this book and I started reading through it, and it broke everything down so simply. It was like the perfect book for me at that time to be able to take in and use as my process for any situation I might run into.
It's a good guidebook, right?
Perfect.
Explain it like I'm five.
It laid out this structure, this 8-step process.
Mm-hmm.
It was so simple. What have I got? What am I going to do? You know, what have I got to deal with it? Who's coming to help me? All those things that you have to consider. Okay, what have I got? Where is it going to go? What have I got to stop it?
Yeah.
And then who's coming? And then that's just like the first 4, I think.
Right. All through the whole evolution of the event.
Yeah.
For whatever day event.
So
is.
he talks you all the way through the you know, the initial life safety piece of it,
mm-hmm.
through the incident stabilization piece of it, through the property conservation piece of it, and let's go home.
So that's touching on emergency management.
The whole thing. Well, that too.
Yeah.
But that's another story.
It's a whole nother episode.
But
yeah.
Yeah. So I realized that I'm all of a sudden in charge of these folks, and so I really started using this, but what really irked me about all of that was like, I should have been taught this.
Right.
Right.
Trained up.
Yeah. Yeah. It's like the training stops once they know you're firefighter 1 and 2, because I had got my firefighter 1 and 2 my first couple of years.
Mm-hmm.
But once you got there, the training stopped. If you got promoted, you didn't get trained to be an officer.
Mm-hmm.
You didn't get any real leadership training. So I was just kind of disheartened by that. So I took it upon myself that every firefighter that came out and worked for me, including my driver at the time, who was my driver for my whole tenure as a lieutenant, Brent,
mm-hmm.
God rest his soul. Love Brent Bazell. But they, But every firefighter that came into my station was going to learn this. I was going to bring them to my level.
Right.
Not only would they know how to do every job there was to do tactically, but they were going to understand the strategy side of the business too. So I would give them the book. I'd be like, hey, this is what I'm going to teach you, or how we're going to talk about processing scenes. Read it, and then we're going to talk through it, and then we're going to do some evolutions and kind of get you to a point where you feel comfortable using this process.
Right.
And I can tell you that pretty much every firefighter that worked for me is now an assistant chief or at very least a district chief.
Good.
So they all, but I had a great bunch of folks that worked with me when I was a lieutenant. So I was very lucky in that respect.
That was some of my favorite nights, was coming over for dinner at the fire department.
Yeah. Breakfast a couple times. Thanksgiving was fun. Yeah. We always had a good time. Yeah.
You know what rings just kind of popped in my head? Clarksville, Tennessee tornadoes.
Oh yeah.
Downtown tornado.
Yeah.
Do you want to get into that real quick? A good, quick story time on that?
Yeah. So I'll come back to the traumatic one.
Oh, no, let's go to the traumatic.
Which one do you prefer?
Do traumatic first. Yeah.
Okay.
I tend to
I'm
go
sorry.
on tangents.
I'm sorry. I did too. I got off a little bit on the subject of just getting promoted, but I felt like I had to kind of throw that in there because it was such an important part of my growth, I guess, or it's a huge part of that process.
Mm-hmm.
But so I've been a lieutenant for a while now. I'm on engine 4, engine 40, and it's probably midnight, 1 o'clock in the morning, and the horn goes off, and we get called to a baby that's not breathing, and which is the call you just don't want to get, right? And so it's right up the road from us. So we get there and we pull up just before EMS gets there. So we this lady comes out and with this 2-month-old baby, very young, and a little infant. And because the ambulance is right there, we just brought it right into the ambulance. And this, I'm not kidding you, this was probably one of the most beautiful babies I have ever seen. I mean, just a gorgeous young little boy. And he's just glowing. I don't know how to explain it. Just glowing, right? I mean, just a beautiful kid. And I'm like, so I'm sitting there and I'm doing CPR on this baby that does not look dead. That's all the way dead, but does not look dead. I mean, I'm just like, it's just creeping me out a little bit. And it was so sad, because it was almost like you was working on a mannequin. It was that, I mean, the baby was just that perfect. And it's like, there's no way this baby is dead, and there's no reason I should be doing compressions on this baby right now.
Right.
So I'm sitting there all the way to the hospital, like trying to work on this baby, and obviously, we're not going to revive it. And then come to find out that this baby belonged to the woman that was there, but her boyfriend was there, and had shaken the baby to death. And so it was just not only was it just a horrific way for a baby to die, but just for some reason, that baby, the way that it looked in that moment, just, I could not get it out of my head. And I don't know why. I still can't explain it to this day, but it was, you're used to working on people that are busted up, that are just, that are either just jacked or clearly are dead. I mean, you know what someone looks like when they're dead.
Yeah.
And it was just such an anomaly in that there just was no discoloration on this baby. It just looked beautiful.
That's so heavy.
And so after that, for the longest time, I wouldn't pick up a baby.
Yeah.
I mean, and luckily that was the last baby call I ever had. And maybe that was the reason why it kind of stuck in my head, because I didn't get the do-over, you know?
Right.
But I wouldn't pick up a baby. I just wouldn't.
I mean, I don't blame you. That would stick in my head.
It was just a mental block. It was this mental block that I had that, you know, I couldn't pick up a perfect baby because, you know, I don't really know what it was.
I mean, it's the innocence, the loss of innocence, the loss of life. That baby did nothing.
Nope.
That little boy did nothing wrong.
Nope. But
was there any did you hear any follow-up with the father?
No, I know he went to jail and that was it. The boyfriend went to jail. That's all I know. But fast forward a few years, right? And I never brought stuff home to you guys.
Right.
Right.
Besides the smell of smoke.
Yeah. But I just didn't bring things home to you guys because it was my choice to be there doing what I'm doing and experiencing the things that I'm experiencing. It wasn't right to bring it home and have you guys experience the same things, tell you these stories.
Yes.
So I've internalized this for ages.
Oh, sure.
And so the fact that I wasn't picking up babies, it was something that I knew was a problem, but for me it wasn't a problem,
right?
Because it's someone else's baby, right?
Mm-hmm.
Until it became a problem.
Yeah.
And so Kayla,
mm-hmm.
your cousin Kayla, had her first baby, Weston.
Yep.
And so what does everybody want to do when they have a baby? They want to show them off. So Kayla comes over, like, I'm not doing it. Be like, yep, he's nice, you know?
Yeah. From a distance.
Yeah. And so your mom confronts me on it. And she's like, what's going on?
Yeah.
How come you won't touch these babies?
Right.
And or you won't pick them up, hold them, or any of this. And so for the first time, I had to sit down and tell her a story that, you know, when I had never told her anything. And obviously she was, you know, totally understanding of it. But then in your typical mom fashion, she's like, all right, you're going to have to figure out a way to get over this.
Yeah.
Because you're getting ready to have some grandkids at some point, and when you do, you're going to want to pick them up.
Yeah.
So I was like, what? How do I fix this?
How do you get over that hurdle?
Because to me, it wasn't a problem until it was identified as a problem, right?
Yeah.
So I could have just gone without picking up babies forever, I guess. But she was right. So next time Weston comes over, I'm like, I'm just going to do it. You know, I'm just going to pick him up. I'm going to hold him for a little bit. And that really ended up being the therapy that I needed.
That's funny that you say that. I feel like a lot of our therapy for mental health, like a lot of people don't like to talk about mental health, especially in, you know, in the industry where we're serving people and, you know, saving people and all that. People don't like to touch on the mental health part, especially when you're in, when you're in the service of whatever service you're in. But it does stick with you. And I've found my personal therapy is kind of similar. It's through action. It's through that on the job training, right? Of getting over the hurdle. So yeah, that's rough though.
I just started picking up babies. And then I started realizing, you know what, I love picking up babies.
Yeah.
You know, and so it took a little bit of time and a process to get past that. But by the time our boys were born, it was I was fine.
Yeah.
But
so I've got 2 kids. I have 2 boys.
Yeah.
And by extension,
yeah, they're the best.
Parents.
Yeah, and so I would have, I could have never, without getting past that or getting over that, it would have made I enjoyed them being babies so much.
Yeah.
For that reason, that I was able to get past that and that was not a roadblock for me along the way. So thanks to Weston and for, you know, getting me paid. He doesn't even know he did that, but,
good family.
Yeah. We sure do.
Kayla,
a great family.
Gabe and Weston and Wyatt. So let's we're going to have to get some lunch soon. So let's talk about the Bible that you found.
Oh yeah.
Let's talk about, after that, I want to hear some of your paranormal experiences that you were talking about up north.
Oh, okay.
Yeah.
So you know, there has been stories of Bibles and fire, right? You've heard over time.
The most recent one I heard was like, was it Pigeon Forge, Dolly Parton's?
Yeah.
That a couple years ago. Yeah.
So I saw it for myself. And so we were on, for some reason I was a pretty new lieutenant on engine 1, and for whatever reason we were out driving around. And a fire call comes in Station Force territory again, but we're really close. And this house was back off the road away, so it was really hard to see. So we were looking around. Finally, Ray Pollock, who got hired when I did, but he went to A shift, and when I got promoted, I went to A shift. So now him and I are together. He's now the firefighter on this truck, and Eddie Peterson was driving. You probably remember Eddie.
Yep.
And so we turned down this gravel road. We go all the way to the back where this house is, and this fire's getting after. There's probably a room or 2 in the back. That's what it looked like. It turns out it was just one room, but so we go through the front door, and me and Ray, and this fire is like in this back room, but it's coming down this hallway. You can see it like turning the corner and just rolling down the hallway. So we're just beating it back. And finally we get back to this room where the fire actually is, and it's flashed over. So everything in that room that's combustible should be on fire, right?
Right. So
we get in there. The great thing about, you know, water and steam puts out fire so fast. So you know, I've always been a fan of the fog stream. So I put it on like a, you know, wide. 60-degree fog, not real wide, but, you know, 60-degree fog or so. Give it a few spins, fire's out. Except for maybe a few hot spots where things are actually on fire. But a lot of the fire that you see is actually the smoke burn. But so we get in there and we're doing overhaul, which is the process of going around looking for that fire extension afterwards and trying to salvage what you can if there isn't anything to salvage. And as I'm going through there, as the smoke started to clear, on top of this dresser is this perfectly preserved Bible.
Wow. On top of the dresser?
On top of the dresser, completely exposed to the fire, and was absolutely not touched.
Wow. Did you pick it up?
I did.
Did you really?
I did.
No,
hell no. I wasn't going to take anything, but I had to see. I was like, are you serious? Is this thing really not burned? I mean, It wasn't even singed. And I'm like, of course, you didn't have phones back then to like take a picture of it. But in any event, it was, I mean, maybe I did have a phone, but I didn't have it with me.
It's like a flip phone.
Yeah, it would have been a flip phone.
Yeah.
But yeah, craziness.
Craziness. Wild. So there was a tornado that tore through Clarksville, Tennessee, late 90s, early 2000s.
January 22nd, 1992.
Oh, it was earlier than I thought.
Yeah.
So
not January 2nd, 92?
I thought it was like mid to late 90s.
1999.
99.
January 22nd, 1999.
Okay. Year before Y2K, young.
Yeah.
That was a crazy one that went right through downtown Concord, if I remember right. Tore off sides of buildings.
Went through downtown Clarksville.
Or Clarksville, not Concord. Clarksville. And there weren't any fatalities, were there?
There were not. And the only reason that there were not is because it happened at 4:00 in the morning.
Oh my gosh.
Yeah. So I was actually at home.
You were? Yeah. You got the call.
Yeah. Well, I didn't even get called. So I was at home. Your mom had been sick. So she was on some anti-nausea medicine that was made her really sleepy.
Yeah.
So I woke her up and I was like, I woke up at that time and I was like, something is not right. Right. I could feel in the air. You could hear the storm outside. I was like, something feels, again, that antenna coming up. I'm like, something ain't right. I don't know what it is, but I need to go turn on the TV. So I turn on the TV and I could hear David Kleinert on CNN, maybe. All of downtown Clarksville was destroyed. So I'm like, oh crap, this is happening right now.
Wow. And
it's coming our way. It's coming towards us. So I went and got you out of bed, and then I went and got mom out of bed, and the only place we always went was our closet. Remember?
Walk-in closet.
Yeah. That big walk-in closet. So we went in there and we wrote it out, and then I got you back to bed, and then got mom back to bed, and I said, look, I got to get dressed and go. I said, this is bad, and I'm due to be on shift in just a few hours, so I'm going to go. So I get downtown, get to the firehouse, and I didn't even get there. The first thing I notice is going down Craft Street, or College Street, Craft Street, and then College, because Craft turns into College, right? Is that right?
I
don't remember either, but College Street anyway. I think Wilbur Duff turns into College.
Oh, okay.
So I get to College Street, and the police have it kind of blocked. And I showed them, I had my uniform on, so I'm like, I'm going to work. And they're like, come on through. And the debris was crazy because you couldn't see the roads. And so I pulled into the firehouse, which was kind of on the upper edge of where the tornado had gone through. And because it kind of went through at an angle of downtown. So you remember Valley Brook Park down there? So that park, it kind of went up from an angle there up to up across downtown and then up into St. B. So the firehouse is kind of over here at that angle. Although I ran into debris on College Street over here, the firehouse is over there. So it really didn't get bothered. But so we get to the firehouse, and Ronnie Shepard is there, who I think was on C shift. I think he's been on C shift his entire career. I think he's just getting ready to retire, just retired. But we jump in a brush truck and we drive it downtown. They've got a downtown fire going, one of the big buildings down there. The debris is everywhere. But so we get down there, and I've got all my gear on. And so we start searching. We start going through these buildings. And at this time, we didn't have we had never really practiced this.
Right.
Going through and the process of clearing buildings. I mean, that's USAR type stuff, right? Urban search and rescue stuff. And we really hadn't done and trained on any of that. You would go through, search a building, mark it as searched, and then move on to the next one. We didn't do any of that. So we were probably searching some of the same buildings as maybe the police or whoever else was down there. But I remember finding one whole family in that was, for whatever reason, downtown, and they were in the basement. And I told them, I said, look, I see, you guys need to come on out of there. I said, it's destroyed out here. And they wouldn't come.
Really?
I had to get the sheriff. I was like, dude, you're going to have to go get them out, because
Oh my goodness.
they don't want to move, or they don't want to come on out. But then they did. They eventually came out. But
Yeah.
so the fact that it happened at 4:00 in the morning probably saved some lives, because if it had been 4 hours later, all of
Bustling.
downtown would have been bustling.
Yeah.
But the craziest thing I remember is the chief that was on duty that day came up to me, and he's like, I need you to walk up to the 8th floor of this building, or the 7th floor of this building. Supposedly someone is up there. We've been told someone's up there. So I go all the way up there, and there's this young kid, probably in his 20s, sleeping on a cot in the top story of this building, dead asleep. Didn't hear any of it.
Mm.
And I was like, I went over, woke him up, and I said, dude, get your clothes on. I said, you got to go. He's like, for what? And who are you?
Right.
And I was like, I'm with the fire department. And I said, a massive tornado has just come through downtown, and it's pretty much destroyed. How you didn't get affected by it, I don't know, but you got to go.
Wow.
But, you can go and look at pictures of it. The courthouse was destroyed. There's churches that had roofs ripped off. There was a bus that was picked up and set inside one of the buildings at Austin P.
Oh my gosh.
Yeah, there was some crazy stuff that happened that day. I remember seeing twigs, little tiny twigs that were in the brick
Wow.
of some of those downtown buildings, where it just blowing so hard.
Oh my gosh.
But yeah, it was a crazy day, and actually had 3 tornadoes. What I would say were probably 3 tornadoes. That one happened, and then we had another one that happened later on I want to say Stevens. It was right behind Station 4. This tornado goes through and it basically took the first story off this 2-story house and set it in the front yard.
Jeez.
And then, but it must have just come down, hit, and been gone. So it just damaged a few places.
So those listening, downtown Clarksville is pretty hilly. Like, it gets hilly down towards Cumberland River, and then especially across the bridge where you get into the country more.
Yeah.
But yeah, the whole downtown area is like up and down and then and sideways and
it undulates a lot. Yeah.
Yeah. Undulates. Yeah. So paranormal experiences, go.
So probably let's see. So we have a house up in New Hampshire that belonged to your great grandmother, your great grandparents, Rita and Leroy Smith.
Mm-hmm.
And there's a whole story behind all of that, that led me to leave my fire department job in Clarksville, right? How we ended up living up there. Which is the second half of my fire career at the Sunapee Fire Department. But
that'd be the next episode.
But we can kind of do that and transition into the emergency management piece, maybe.
Yeah.
Yeah. But in any event, we're out on the boat, right? And it's later in the evening, and we're with I can't remember who we were with. I don't know, but me and Mom are out there with some friends, and we're just, the lake's pretty small. So we're just kind of, puttering around the lake, and I looked there's windows, those big windows on the front of the house. You could kind of see through the house.
Mm-hmm.
There was just one little lamp on in there, inside the house. And so there was it was kind of really dimly lit, and we're driving by, and I saw this figure, like almost translucent white figure,
mm-hmm.
move from where our bedroom, where the hallway is, where our bedrooms would be, going towards the kitchen, like moved all the way across. So what made this extra creepy is your mom saw it too.
Oh.
If it had just been me,
yeah,
I'd have been like, I must have just been seeing this. But your mom saw it too.
Was Grammy alive? No. Okay.
No, they were both gone.
Oh.
And the other time was I was playing my guitar in the music room, which used to be Grammy's room, right? I'm sitting up playing my guitar and I think maybe even singing a tune because no one could hear me, which is about the time that I mostly sing because I don't want to hurt anybody's ears. But I could feel like someone with me. And out of the corner of my eye, like I could see right here, there was like this like lit up figure. Like you can imagine you're sitting here and all of a sudden you see something like right there.
Yeah.
In your peripheral, and you look over and it's gone. It was like that quick.
Usually it's like a shadow.
Yeah, but this was
like a light.
This shadow. This was just like because it's in your periphery, you can't necessarily make it out completely.
Mm-hmm.
But I knew something was there, and I stopped playing.
No way.
Like, it creeped me. It was like, oh shit.
That's a small room.
Yeah, exactly.
Like a very small room.
And your mom's like, "What's wrong?" Because she heard me. I was playing. I stopped.
Mm-hmm.
She's like, "What's wrong?" And I was like, "You're not gonna believe what just happened." I said that someone was in here with me, and yeah,
I just got the chills. Ugh.
Yeah. So that house is
creepy.
That house, but
it's an old house.
It is, but it was never creepy in the way that it felt. It felt creepy,
like malevolent or like bad.
No,
never felt bad.
No,
or scary.
It was always like we were happy to have them there.
Mm.
Because we always thought of it as they're just looking after the house.
Sure.
Looking after us.
I mean, this house is like, help me explain it so they can understand whoever's listening or watching. Like, when was it built? And wasn't it moved down from the mountain?
No. So there was Grammy lived. Rita Smith, Grammy, lived up on Route 103. What was the old Route 103? That was where her homestead was.
Yeah.
Well, in the 50s, the state came through and wanted to widen that road or change the way that road came through, and so they took their house by eminent domain.
Oh.
And so basically, what they do in those cases is like, okay, we're going to take your house and your land, and we're going to give you a like house on like land, whatever you want, basically. Which I think at the time was to the tune of about $7,000.
Okay, that's fair.
A long time ago, 50s, right?
Yeah,
yeah. So they traded that house for a cottage on the lake,
mm-hmm.
and it turns out that house did get moved. They moved it down to a point on the lake. That point that kind of sticks out.
Yeah,
where the beach is.
Uh-huh.
Her homestead's on that point.
I did not know that.
You didn't know that?
I didn't know that.
Yes, her homestead is on that point, so you can still see her old house there.
That's cool.
It is cool. But yeah, she ended up buying that cottage, and it was built. Grammy says it was built in 1926, so it's almost 100 years old.
Yeah, and
they over the years they had added on to it, and some extra rooms and the foyer that's there, the entryway. They added on to the kitchen, and then they added on a sunroom, which is now just part of the living room.
Yeah.
So and then we got the deck on the back.
Brand new, yeah, nice deck.
Yeah. So it's changed a lot over the years, but a lot of that was done ages ago.
Yeah. And so much traffic has come through that house, like parties.
Oh yeah.
Family.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I mean, it's a wonderful place to be, and we love it up there. We absolutely do love it up there. But down here near our kids, that's what makes us the happiest.
That's right. So finishing up for this episode, we'll probably pepper in more with you because you've just got a lifetime of stories.
Feels like it. Still making stories.
Still making them. And so for fire movies, let's talk movies for a sec. We'll talk fun movies, but fire movies, like what's the most in your eyes, like the coolest, maybe realistic fire movie out there?
I think if I had to say the coolest, it's still Backdraft.
Awesome movie.
But the most realistic is probably Ladder 49.
Also awesome movie.
Yeah.
Well, that was Joaquin Phoenix, right?
It was.
And then one of the Baldwin brothers for Backdraft, or a couple of them.
It was William Baldwin in Backdraft, and Kurt Russell was kind of the
Kurt Russell.
Yeah.
That's right.
And it was John Travolta and Ladder 49 and Joaquin Phoenix. But you can't imagine.
I need
John
to go
Travolta
watch that again.
Yeah.
I don't remember John.
He plays a great role.
Yeah.
I mean, one of my favorite John Travolta movies, honestly.
I need to rewatch.
Although, the reason I say that is because being a lieutenant at the time when that came out, and John Travolta being the company officer of the engine that Joaquin Phoenix was on at the time. It's because he wasn't on Ladder 49 yet.
Mm-hmm.
He started on an engine with John Travolta. I could identify with him and some of the things that he was doing. So his character really stuck out to me.
Yeah. And he's a great actor.
Oh, anyway. For sure. One of the best. Yeah.
He hasn't let up. So what's your most recent movie that you've seen? Just any movie that's stuck with you that's like, oh, that was a cool flick.
There hasn't been a ton that's come out lately that I really, really liked, that I thought was a great movie. But for sure, of recent, absolutely, hands down, Top Gun Maverick.
Oh, that's a good one.
Oh, my goodness.
You know what I just watched? It was the last Mission Impossible.
Oh, that was good, too.
Final Reckoning.
That was good, too. But
yeah,
I happen to say, I still have an affinity for jets. So
that
I've watched Top Gun Maverick probably 4 or 5 times.
Have you really?
Yeah.
I've only seen it the once. I need to rewatch it.
But my favorite movie of all time.
Top Gun?
No. Waterboy.
Waterboy.
I'm ashamed to say it. I'm ashamed to say it, but that's my favorite movie of all time. I could watch Waterboy, and maybe Forrest Gump. I love Forrest Gump.
Forrest Gump.
But man, Waterboy, I could watch that movie over and over again and laugh every time.
So we need to have a movie night with our boys.
Yeah.
Our boys. Watch Waterboy and then watch Ace Ventura: When Nature Calls.
Oh my goodness. Ace Ventura.
I could see my oldest acting like him.
We can talk about Ace Ventura one day when you're sitting in this seat and I'll sit over there.
Yeah, we'll switch. We'll just switch up. Yeah. Well, all right. So closing thoughts, because we got to go eat lunch and got to head out with our ladies.
I just appreciate you having me on and taking the time to be interested in my story. I mean, I don't think mine's completely different or altogether different from a lot of people's, but I think it's cool when we can share our experiences with others and maybe other people learn from them, or sometimes it's just good to talk about stuff.
It is. Yeah. It's therapeutic sometimes.
It is. And I think it's also kind of cool that this is out there, and someday my grandsons are going to see it.
Yeah.
And they're going to be like, oh, cool. Grandpa was pretty cool.
But yeah, exactly. Yeah. Cool. Well, thanks for coming on.
My pleasure. Anytime.
And then we'll do another one at some point.
Heck yeah.
Let's watch some football in between though.
Let's do it.
All right. Love you.
Love you too, bub.